Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here, back with another Market Watch episode. Today we're going over some more cards that are currently trending on the market because of the role that they play within the current meta. It's still early as we haven't had too much in terms of big events since YCS Las Vegas, but with the 250th YCS weekend just a month away, everyone is scrambling to pick up cards that they need. And generally that's going to cause prices to trend upwards, sometimes because the cards have just limited printings or limited availability, and other times it's because people want to bling out their decks with the nicest possible rarities. Let's get started. First up, let's take a look at Traptrix Mermelio. This is a level 4 monster that is absolutely a 3 of in the Traptrix deck. On normal summon, this card lets you search for any whole trap card from your deck, and on special summon it also pops an opponent's back row. With the new Traptrix support from the Traptrix structure deck, the deck is actually looking like a really strong back row deck that can compete with other top tier strategies such as Kashtira, Labyrinth, and Branded Despia. Now, despite basically all of the Traptrix cards being reprinted in the structure deck itself, some people really want to go out and bling the deck out as much as possible, which is causing buyouts of some unexpected cards. Mermelio is probably the most notable one. The super rares from back in Astral Pack 6 are an insane $25 each right now. Honestly, I would never pay that much for a Mermelio unless the deck were like tier 0, but they do admittedly look really nice. The other holo printing is the gold rare, which usually wouldn't be too sought after, but we need to keep in mind that for a bunch of the other Traptrix cards like Dionea, the only holo printing for those came as gold rares, so some people might want the whole deck to match, and so the gold rare Mermelio is now up to $15 each as well. That's still a lot, especially when you remember that the common and rare copies you can still pick up for well under $1 each. If you do want to play Traptrix, I personally would be content with just playing the commons. If you have the holos, now is a great time to offload them while there is so much hype surrounding the deck. One other Traptrix related card that is definitely worth noting is Traptrix Traphole Nightmare. So with Mermelio searching for any trap card, Traphole Nightmare is absolutely one of the best cards in the deck that you can search for. As a normal trap card, this card lets you negate an opponent's special summoned monster's activated effect and then destroy the card. Super simple and easy to use, and of course, access to a free negation is always welcome. I don't know exactly how many copies of this card Traptrix would use, but it certainly seems like something that you'd want to run 2 to 3 copies of. Now, this card has several different printings, and for the most part, they're fairly affordable. However, the ultimate rares have now reached a ridiculous price. I remember years ago, these things used to be like 15 to 20 bucks each. Even for most of this year, they have been around that like $30 range. Now that the structure deck is out, however, and the deck has surged in popularity, the card has jumped way up and is now sitting at $65 lowest on TCG Player. Obviously an insane price spike, and I guess as an ultimate rare, it's definitely going to be the card's highest printing, so it should retain a good chunk of its value. However, I do still think that this is overpriced, and realistically, I think that Traptrix Traphole Nightmare will fall back down to around $40 to $50 once the Traptrix hype has died down. The rarity that I'd be more interested in picking up is the original Judgment of the Light super rare, which is still only a couple of bucks each. I think that they look really clean. The first edition text is still above the effect box rather than below it, and with just the regular holo printing, the colors can be easier to see. If you guys want a cheap but still beautiful looking printing of the card, the supers are definitely where I'd be turning my attention to rather than the ultimate rares. Up next, we're looking at a card that seems to have a couple of different applications this format, Therion Borea. Borea is a level 8 Therion monster with the standard Therion effect, where you can special summon it and either equip a Therion monster or a plant monster from your graveyard to this card. Borea is the searcher for the Therion card, so you can send a card from your hand or field to the graveyard to search for any Therion spell or trap card. We talked about Regulus trending upwards in the past, and Borea was bound to follow after it. The two each just have the one secret rare printing from Dimension Force, and they're each a key part of the Therion engine. So I think that technically Borea can be used in Traptrix. Since some of the Traptrix monsters are plants, I don't think that's where it would be good though. Rather, Rika Sanavalon is able to use this card as it's a free plant extender that can be summoned to the field quite easily, and also I believe that this card is used in Spriggans, which uses the Therion engine as well. I haven't seen too much from that deck, so I'll leave that one up to you guys to let me know about down in the comments section. Anyways, Borea is now up to $10 each, which is a decent amount considering that the card used to be only $3 to $4 for most of its existence, it's something that should be reprinted in the 2023 Megatins this year, so where this card's price goes depends on if the Therion engine sees a substantial amount of competitive success over the next few months. While we're talking about Rika Sanavalon, a card that I want to note here is Aroma Serafi Jasmine. This card is, in my opinion, one of the best Link 2 monsters in the game. I actually bought a ton of this card back when it was only $1 or so. I thought that this card was just like ridiculous. It requires 2 plant monsters to summon, but it has 3 different effects. 1, it makes it so that itself and plants that it points to cannot be destroyed by battle. 2, you contribute a monster that it points to special summon any plant from out of your deck. And 3, if you gain life points, you can search for any plant monster. So I feel like if it were anything other than plants, this card would probably be abused like no tomorrow. Anyways, this card is absolutely a necessary extra deck option in Rika Sanavalon. I think that they may actually run 2 copies because of this card being just so useful for them. However, the card was only $5 or $6 a few weeks ago. What happened was we found out that both Teardrop and Rika Glamour are being reprinted in Maze of Memories, and those are 2 of the most expensive pieces of the Rika deck. This turns the Rika deck actually relatively cheap, so naturally a lot of players will turn to pick up the cards for the core, and the next most expensive card is the one that sees a significant price bump up, and in this case it's Aroma Serafi Jasmine. Overall, I do think that Jasmine will get another reprint within the next few months. It's just never clear when exactly that reprint is going to be. It could be in like an OTS tournament pack, or it could be in some random side set, we don't really know. With the most recent round list, if Rika Sanavalon is able to perform better than expected, then maybe there's a chance that this card's price could continue to go even higher, but if not, it'll probably settle back down after people gradually relist their copies back onto the market. The next one up is Gigantic Champion Sargus. So this is a generic rank 8 monster, but it's probably more easily summoned by rank 4 decks, since you can make Spriggan's Merrymaker and then slap this card on top of it. The card itself is actually really good. It lets you search for any Spriggan's or Therion card, and if an Xyz material from anywhere on the field is detached from an Xyz monster, you can target any card on the field and either destroy it or return it to the hand. On top of this, it is a 2800 attack point body, so that's pretty big as well, especially for something that you're accessing as a rank 4. The deck that keeps on popping up as being able to abuse this card is the Spriggan strategy, obviously, which actually became pretty good with a couple of support cards that it got in Photon Hypernova. I wouldn't say that it's enough to make the deck top tier or anything like that, but just like any deck nowadays, if you let it combo off uninterrupted, it can do some pretty wicked things. Anyways, I think that Sargus is something that most people had written off as being one of the bad secret rares of the set. Initially, this card was between $5 and $10, and I think that it had fallen as low as $2 to $3 for a little while there. However, over the last week or so, the card has shot back up, and it now sits up at $11 per copy. I can't say why this is for certain. It just might be that people have been picking up the deck online, so now they finally want to try it out at their locals, or maybe there's a pro player that suddenly jumped on the deck, kind of like how Jesse Cotton jumped on Ninjas and then a bunch of different cards skyrocketed in price. I do think that Sargus is still cheap enough that if you want to play Spriggans, I wouldn't feel bad about picking up a copy or two. It's still a secret rare from basically a brand new core set. Once we have a few more big events in the format though, it'll be interesting to see if Spriggans is actually able to perform or if it's all just hype. Alright, so this is an interesting card that hasn't seen play in a little while. It's Coral Dragon. This is a generic level 6 synchro monster that is also a tuner. It has a really straightforward effect. You can discard a card to pop an opponent's card, and if it was synchro summoned and then sent to the graveyard, you get to draw a card as well. So the first effect is a bit situational, but the second effect is where the card gets its value in Runic Naturia. That deck uses Camellia as a tuner and Hugin as a non-tuner, since you don't really need those two bodies anyways. If you can get another non-tuner level 4 monster onto the field, you have access to Baron, and synchroing off Coral Dragon will trigger its effect to let you draw a card as well. The card actually hasn't seen much competitive play since Virtual World was in the format, which I think was a couple of years ago now. Even then, it still only has 2 different printings, the secret rare from the Dark Illusion, which is around $12, and then the ultra rare from the Legendary Dragon decks, which is $3 to $4. A quick thing to note, the unlimited printings of the card are all European, since the Dark Illusion Special Edition only came out in Europe, and that's why like super rare Spiral Big Red is still so expensive and difficult to find. Now, I haven't seen a ton from Naturia Runic. I don't think it took any top spots at YCS Las Vegas, but I think there are several pro players that are on the deck, so that'll certainly be a cause for some of the hype around the card. If we start to see Runic Naturia put up some consistent results, and this card still isn't reprinted, definitely keep an eye on it and expect its price to continue its upward trend, especially since we are getting that Baron reprint coming in Maze of Memories. And finally, the last card I want to take a look at for today is Danko Seca. So I think Danko Seca is actually a terrifying card to have to play against, especially since I'm a Labyrinth player. It's really straightforward. When you summon this card, right, as long as you control no set cards, your opponent cannot activate set cards, nor can they set any spell or trap cards onto the field. Now, against decks like Trap Tricks and Labyrinth, which are obviously really back row dependent, this card can absolutely shut down those strategies, and in decks like Kashtira or Dark World, you don't necessarily need to use your normal summon for your combos, so you may as well put it to good use with this card. I think that this is Tombox's favorite card in the entire game, and I remember loving this card back in the Duelist Alliance format days. This isn't to say that there aren't outs to it. There's a ton of threats running around nowadays like Lightning Storm, Lava Golem, and Sphere Mode, all things that can get rid of Danko Seca off the board, but I think that in today's game, everything has outs, right? So you may as well run something that can shut down as much of your opponent's game plan as possible. Now, as far as prices go, it's just the Battles of Legends secret rares that have shot up in price. They used to only be $1 or $2, but they're now all the way up at $8 per copy. Aside from that, the other rarities are all under $1, including the original print ultra rare, so they might be worth considering. However, the secret rares are absolutely the nicest looking version of the card, so they're the ones I personally would want to pick up. Even then, if you're afraid of back row decks this format, this card is a side deck option that I would definitely recommend checking out. Alright guys, that is all we have for today's episode. I think that for most of us, we have that OTS store tournament over the weekend. You guys should probably have some bigger turnouts at your locals, so make sure that you guys fill up your trade binders, and hopefully you guys are able to take advantage of some of the knowledge I shared in this video to be able to get some trades going at your locals. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy today's Market Watch, please make sure that you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button as well. And until next time guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.